Carl Mecklenburg. At linebacker from Arizona, number 98, Ricky Hunley. Also at linebacker from William and Mary, he wears number 50, Jim Ryan. At cornerback from Colorado, number 36, Mark Haynes. Also at cornerback from Howard, number 45, Steve Wilson. At free safety from Florida, number 22, Tony Lilly. And at strong safety from Michigan, number 31, Mike Arden.
All right, in a flash here, as our time is short, let's go to Paul McGuire along the sideline, get his pick. The Broncos are favored by 10. What do you say, Paul?
I'm taking the Houston Oilers to win this by 10, Bobby, and there's a quick reason for it. Yesterday, Cleveland was favored by 8.5. They won by 17. I'm getting balls hit at me. And then Minnesota, they were a 12-point underdog. They won by 12. So here, Houston's a 10-point underdog. They'll win by 10.
All right, Paul, we'll see how you're doing when we check with you again at halftime. Dick Enberg and Merlin Olsen are standing by to call the game. And as we say goodbye for this edition of NFL Live, a look at Walter Payton as he leaves the field. He was tackled on the Bears' last offensive play and the last play of his career as they lost to the Redskins in the NFC game today, 21-17. Godspeed, Walter.
The National Broadcasting Company presents the National Football League. Today from Denver's Mile High Stadium, the AFC Divisional Playoff game, the Houston Oilers and the Denver Broncos. Today's game brought to you by Budweiser, proud sponsor of the 1988 U.S. Olympic team. This Bud's for you. By United Airlines, rededicated to giving you the service you deserve. Come fly the friendly skies. By the heartbeat of America, today's Chevrolet. And by Alamo Rent-A-Car. There are over 4 million miles of roads in America, and with Alamo, all the miles are free. Number 7 of the Denver Broncos, John Elway, voted by NFL players as pro football's most valuable player this year. Elway's rifle arm made for the shotgun formation. He will test defenses the length and the width of the field. And with the size of some linebackers and the speed of a running back, Elway presents the total package, leading Denver into the playoffs with the AFC's best record. The opposing quarterback today, Warren Moon of Houston. Moon honed his considerable skills in the Canadian Football League, winning 5 straight Grey Cup titles with the Edmonton Eskimos. Warren Moon's wildcard Oilers are here today after a dramatic overtime win last weekend against Seattle, one in which Moon proved his playoff readiness. He leads the youngest team in the NFL, the Oilers, who are trying to bring back Love You Blue joy to football-happy Houston. Houston, a considerable underdog today, but the Oilers feel Moon is ready to shine in Denver. And here in the Mile High City, it's an unbelievable January day. Temperature with the sun in the mid-40s. The field is firm, not frozen. 76,000 plus are here to enjoy this playoff battle.
Hello, everyone, and you see the remnants of the first part of 1988. It's been snowy and icy and bitter cold, but all has this Sunday bloomed a beauty, and for the players and coaches in this game, the weather will not decide who moves on in the playoffs.
No question, Dick. In the bitter cold, very often a game like this can be a survival contest. Not so today. And I think both teams happy about the weather. Denver wants to throw the football. A perfect day for that. Houston is an indoor team. They've not played outdoors since before Thanksgiving. I think the bitter cold would really have hurt them today.
That's a game of hitting, and both coaches will have their players so inspired. But for the Houston Oilers, they have earned a reputation this year for being big hitters.
Not just young and strong, but they'll knock you down. And one guarantee, no matter what the score is, you're going to spend some time in the whirlpool after you play these Houston Oilers. And Denver is a finesse football team. Houston will try to make them play a game they do not want to play today, and that is the physical game.
Well, when you talk about physical, aggressive play, the three amigos, 5'9" to 5'11" wide receivers of the Broncos who can fly, and there they are. They say, well, when you're going to play that tough and that aggressively, you're going to open up a big play for us, and we're looking for that.
The Houston Oilers will blitz Elway today. They'll come after him with a lot of bodies and put real pressure on Patrick Allen and Steve Brown to cover the three amigos man-to-man. Houston says basically, if you can hit those deep routes to the outside, go ahead and take them. Believe me, Elway will try.
And there's the Johnny Cash of NFL pro football coaching, Jerry Glanville. His team beating the Seahawks last week. They're the underdogs, but as we know now, underdog is not all that bad in these playoffs of 1988.
What a job Dan Reeves has done to get his team back into the playoffs, a revamped defense, a whole host of injuries.
This kickoff is sponsored by Budweiser, the king of beers. Tony Zendejas in the white of Houston will kick it off to the orange of the Denver Broncos. Ricky Nattiel will be employed as a kick returner by Reeves today. He's number 84, and Ken Bell joins him down on the goal line for Denver. Very little breeze to affect play today, and the temperature in the mid-40s. Ideal for this playoff game, and congratulations to the Washington Redskins and Joe Gibbs' team, winning as underdogs in Chicago, and the great disappointment of the Bear fans, and the finale for one of the greatest of all time, Walter Payton. And now we will decide the fourth remaining team in the Super Bowl Derby as Zendejas gets it started. Bell wants it at the 6. Ken Bell to the 33. Domingo Bryant makes the tackle for Houston. John Elway, the MVP in 1987 in the NFL, has Sammy Winder, Gene Lang, two backs who will get you yardage. They don't often cough it up. Vance Johnson and Mark Jackson, two of the amigos, and the tight end Clarence Kay has caught a pass in every game this year. There's the front line of Studdard, Bishop going to the Pro Bowl, Freeman, Humphreys, an ex-Bear, and Ken Lanier. Steve Sewell, broken jaw, middle of the year, has returned, and he's the only back behind Elway. So Elway gives to Sewell, and the former Oklahoma star gains about 5 before number 79, Ray Childress from Texas A&M for the Houston Oilers, along with Richard Byrd, can make the tackle, and here are the Oilers. Childress, Doug Smith, and Richard Byrd, a rookie from southern Mississippi, actually Byrd in his 3rd year. Lyles Grimsley, Al Smith is a rookie from Utah State, and Johnny Meads. Steve Brown and Patrick Allen on the corners, and Keith Bostic, a Pro Bowler, and Jeff Donaldson, hard-hitting safety. Winder now, the setback, as Elway changing his play, 2nd and 5.
9 men at the line of scrimmage.
Winder looking for a hole and finds it. 1st down.
Reeves and Shanahan, obviously feeling that Houston would come out to try and get an immediate rush on Elway, have gone to try to establish some running game here at the beginning of this ball game. And Winder in behind a good block by 70 Studdard right there. 54 Bishop gets a hole and picks up the 1st down.
Linebacker John Grimsley from Kentucky, 2nd tackler for the Oilers this year. 1st man on the hit. On 1st down, it's Sewell.
A little trick play on that one. Elway standing off to the side, holding up his hands as if he did not know what happened. A direct snap to Sewell standing behind him, but the Oilers were not fooled and might have had a question about what was going on. Look at Elway. Elway's saying, what's going on? And there's the direct snap from Freeman to Sewell, but he didn't fool the Oilers on that one. That's one thing you'll see on both sides today. These two coaches love the gimmick. They love the trick plays. They'll use that direct snap sometimes, as they did right there. Houston will do a similar thing.
Robert Lyles was the man credited with being wise enough to stay at home and stop that play. A gain of only 2, 2nd and 8. Elway's 1st throw is a screen. No, it's over the middle. Vance Johnson. And one of the amigos is in Houston territory, just shy of a 1st down at the 46.
46 Pressure is on Elway. They're blitzing. They bring Johnson all the way across. You see him at low level here. It's a man-to-man coverage. Steve Brown, and Brown gets picked off in the coverage right there. Vance Johnson gets a little bit cute, or he would have picked up that first down.
Johnny Meads and Domingo Bryant were there to secure the tackle, and boy, Elway just got it over Meads on the pressure.
Meads has 4.5 sacks in the last 5 games, so he has been putting some heat on the quarterbacks.
They'll measure, and it is just short. Third down, Denver at the Houston 46.
Dick, we talked about physical advantage. On the line of scrimmage with Denver's offense on the field, Denver's offensive line gives up 10 pounds a man to Houston's defensive line. When Houston's offensive line is on the field, Denver's defensive line will give up 20 pounds. They're just looking at the sizing them up. There you see the defensive line average for this Houston team, 6'5", 274, and 6'3", 264. Not a bad size, but these are big boys on the Houston side of the line of scrimmage.
Of course, Denver will answer when you're outside. You've got to outquick them. Third and short, and Elway keeps it for the first down to the 45.
There was a question after taking a week off if these Broncos would have lost any of their rhythm, lost any of their feel. Certainly it was good for them physically. Dan Reeves talked about the fact that they needed to mend. They were a pretty beat-up team, and they're healthy physically. And it would appear in this first drive that they are back into motion without a lot of wasted effort.
And yesterday, the 49ers felt that they just were out of sync, weren't in good rhythm.
They looked like they were out of sync, didn't they?
First drive of the game, and Elway has the Broncos at the Oiler 45. The give is to Lang, and he's wrapped up in the backfield by Johnny Meads, number 91, from Nicholls State.
Two fine outside linebacker. You saw Meads pressuring Elway just a moment ago. Watch how quickly he comes upfield, gets good depth, and just nowhere to go. And then he makes a solid open field tackle.
That's as good as a sack, a 7-yard loss. Here's Meads filtering his way through, fights off the block, and makes the big hit. He's 6'2" and 230 pounds.
Often in these long yardage situations, the Houston Oilers will come at you with the whole gang of folks.
They bring up some extra people on the line. May have been offside. It appeared Al Smith had jumped offside. Elway, with perhaps a free play, hits his man, Mark Jackson, at the 40-yard line. A gain of 12. Jackson's first catch, he played at Purdue, only 5'9". We have 4 men in this game, Merlin, who will catch the ball. It was offside against Al Smith. He had leaned into the neutral zone. 4 men, 2 for Houston and 2 for the Broncos, who are only 5'9" at wide receiver.
There was the movement inside, Dick, and you're absolutely right about those small wide receivers. Great quickness. Jackson coming across the middle to make that stab. And I'll tell you the thing that's dangerous about John Elway, and you saw some of his scrambling in our pregame show and in our opening. No matter what you do, you can do everything right defensively, and that man right there, number 7, can still beat you.
Apparently, because it was a 12-yard gain.
Offside, number 99, defense, second down again.
They're going to take the 5 yards rather than the 12 and save the down. I think that Elway had forgotten about the 7-yard loss, so the 5 yards only brings it into third down or second down and 12. It was, you want second and 12 or about third and 5.
It does not sound like a good choice to me. Certainly would appear that Elway may have made that decision without really looking carefully. There is the offside, and I think Elway got them off with his count, just barking in there. Got them to move a little bit. Either that or perhaps a wise center using his wrist or his hand to tip that ball a little bit. That very often will get a nose man moving.
I even heard that terrible rumor that sometimes a center will clear his throat in an unusual manner. And try to draw it.
There are a lot of tricks on the line of scrimmage. You better believe that. Second down, 11 and a half. And Mark Jackson had lined up on the wrong side.
That's Orson Mobley, the huge tight end in motion. Bad snap. Elway handles it. Going deep, no one at home. Jeff Donaldson or Domingo Bryant, number 38, the closest to the ball for Houston.
Big, rangy center fielder. They bring him in there to patrol back in the deep secondary. This ball thrown way out of range, even for the long arms of Domingo Bryant.
Penalty on the play. Waiting for Jerry Markbright, and the signal, here it comes.
Illegal motion. Number 80, offense. 2 men moving at the same time. Penalty decline. 3rd down.
So it's 3rd and 12 for Denver at the 46-yard line.
Yeah, they're calling Jackson for moving. He wasn't standing still. I guess he was moving back at the snap is what they're calling him for. Steve Sewell is the slot man. The Teal left. Jackson and Johnson are to the right. And again an offside. I think they'll call this one on Elway. Elway is moving. And, of course, that's illegal for the quarterback to do anything to draw the defense offside.
William Fuller and a little extra contact for Houston.
Full start. Number 79. Offense. 3rd down.
Stephen Humphreys, the guard, played at Michigan. Great student there. Acquired this year for the Broncos.
You see Elway also move just before that ball was snapped, but there's no question that Stephen Humphreys was up and drawing the defensive man into the neutral zone.
3rd and 17.
Well, I may have spoken too soon about being in sync. That week off may have left a little rust in the pipes here in Denver.
Elway will have 3 wide receivers to the right. Again, a flag down. Houston was offside. Deep throw is intercepted by the Oilers, but will it count?
I don't think
Steve
so.
Brown, number 24, that comes up with a ball.
Johnny Meads is offsides, I believe, Dick.
He was lined up on the near side, anticipating the count. He had taken a step into the neutral zone, and that denies Steve Brown the intercept.
Meads anticipating the count, trying to get the good jump. He was coming on the blitz. Stepped over that line and will give Elway an extra chance.
Number 91, defense. 3rd down.
So we're back to 3rd and 12.
How many penalties have we had in a row here? About 4 or 5?
And Houston penalized heavily during the course of the year, but lightly last week. They played almost error-free ball in that regard for Glanville in beating Seattle. So a 2nd, 3rd, 4th chance for Elway. 3rd and 12. Tony Bodie is with him in the backfield along with Sewell. Full blitz. Elway from behind, and the ball goes out of bounds. They're going to call it a pass. Incomplete pass.
Again, the all-out blitz by Houston. And the challenge there to Elway is to find time to try and get that ball to the wide receivers covered man-to-man. This is a planned rollout, not a scramble by Elway. But Bostic, coming from the backside, just tapped his arm as he started forward. And that ball came loose, but indeed the arm action had started, and they called it an incomplete pass.
Well, Bostic, the safety man, up on the line of scrimmage and chasing Elway, and that's one of the designs set up by Glanville's defense. Kenny Johnson, the return man, back at the 10-yard line. He was with the Atlanta Falcons when Glanville was an assistant there. Mike Horan, a beautiful high kick. Johnson lets it kick out of bounds inside the 5-yard line. No return. When we come back to Denver's Mile High Stadium, the Oilers get their first chance starting from the 5. Denver with the ball, unable to score. Here are the Houston Oilers on offense. Number 1, Warren Moon, the quarterback. Mike Rozier, Heisman winner. Alonzo Highsmith, 3rd player picked in the last draft out of Miami. 2 brilliant wide receivers. They're small, only 5'9". Drew Hill. Ernest Givens led the league in yardage. Tight end Jamie Williams, and we're going to be talking a lot about that offensive line. 3 number 1 draft picks. Many feel that is the strength of this Houston team. From inside the 5, it's Highsmith breaking a tackle, and he gets back to the 4. Carl Mecklenburg and others in on the stop, a loss of 1.
Big play to kick it off, and quickly Houston comes without the huddle.
Well, that's dangerous deep in your own territory, and
Fumble.
a ball. Is that a fumble or is it a pass?
I think it's a lateral.
It is Denver's ball.
That's a live ball because it's thrown behind the quarterback, bouncing off Rozier, who I think may have been setting up to throw a second pass.
Well, that is really a gamble. You talk about the gamblers from that Houston area. There you are inside your own 5 on second down, throwing that play in your own end zone.
Well, Glanville says he wants to be unpredictable. He's shown you a great deal of unpredictability there. That's one of the trick plays that we mentioned earlier, the gimmick, and it may have backfired right squarely. Let's look at the opposite angle right now. Now, check where the quarterback is. He's about the 1-yard line and throws it behind the end line. No question. That is a lateral and a live ball.
Roland Jones rolled Rozier off the ball, and Steve Wilson recovered for Denver. First and goal for the Broncos, and you talk about turnovers, and both coaches did. They said that will ultimately be the key to get a turnover on the opponent's 1-yard line.
And both teams, after the ball was dead, they offset. It's first down.
There was a little grunt and groan, push and shove in the end zone afterwards, the double foul, and after the play, so it doesn't involve any penalty yards. Rozier, who unable to handle that lateral pass and holding his wrist. So Elway and the Broncos, 4 shots from the 1. Winder and Lang behind him. Does not get in. Look at those Oilers swarm to the ball. Charles Martin, 94 among them, the ex-Green Bay Packers.
Swarm, a very good word. Oiler defense will come after you. Let's see what happened to Mike Rozier, the number 4 rusher in the NFL this last season. Took a shot to the head right there, Roland Jones, and then Mecklenburg diving underneath. Looked like he may have just been popped in the helmet. Got a few cobwebs momentarily.
Here the Broncos lost a yard on first down. Now up the middle, touchdown Lang. Officially from 1 yard out, Gene Lang, who scored only twice all year, rushing the football, and Denver capitalizes quickly.
John Elway looked like a bullfighter as he did a complete reverse turn, and I think it was an influence play on Doug Smith, the nose tackle.
There was also a penalty after the play. We could not hear Jerry Marks right. It appeared the signal was a personal foul after
Correction. Number 79 on the unsportsmanlike.
Ray Childress. Unsportsmanlike conduct after the play, and they'll penalize the Oilers on the ensuing kickoff. Rich Carlos, number 3, comes on. He commented last week in watching Tony Zendejas, and after Zendejas hit the upright on the short field goal try, how much empathy these kickers have for one another. But now it's war today. And Carlos tacks on the extra point.
Watch Elway as he faces into our camera. He will start to the right side and then spin back inside, almost knocked over by Lang, but Lang able to drive it into the end zone.
Celebrating the gift touchdown for the Broncos after the turnover at the Houston 1. Rich Carlos to kick it off. Former Notre Dame star Alan Pinkett down on the goal line for the Oilers. Well, in these playoffs, 5 games, the underdog has won 3 of the 5, including the Redskins earlier today at Soldier Field, 21-17 against the Bears. Carlos, with a penalty, able to kick that ball into the crowd. The unsportsmanlike call against Childress, and of course the ball was teed up in the middle of the field at the 50. Let's go back to the touchdown. First back
gimmick that backfired. I think they're looking to unsettle Denver's defense very quickly, and I believe that could have been a double pass because it certainly is a lateral, or possibly a run out there behind. But there's no question, a strange choice of play for Jerry Glanville to open up this ball game.
Wonder if Paul McGuire or Ahmad Rashad could find out. Perhaps we could learn whether that was designed to be a pass. Moon sets up at the 20. Rozier's okay, back in the lineup. And he fouls for 5, maybe 6. Rozier on his way to the Pro Bowl for the first time after winning the Heisman at Nebraska and having his biggest year, 957 yards rushing in this shortened season. The defense for the Broncos, small, outmanned 22 pounds per man on that defensive line. Townsend, Cragen, and Jones. We'll see Gilbert a lot, number 90. He's back from an injury problem. Fletcher, Mecklenburg a star, Hundley and Ryan. Ryan underrated. Haynes and Wilson at the corners. Lilly and Harden at safety, and that rebuilt back 4 for Denver. 2nd and 4, and it's Highsmith greeted rudely. Ricky Hundley, number 98. He was there as quickly as Highsmith got the ball.
Here is that size advantage that you alluded to, Dick. And look at the bulk that Houston's offensive line brings into this game. And compare that to the smallest defensive line in the NFL for the Denver Broncos. You're going to see Denver's defense shifting and stunning. They really can't afford to stand toe-to-toe and duke it out with Houston's offense.
3rd down and 4. Moon yet to throw a pass. Here's his first. Over the middle, wide open to Duncan, and he has a first down at the 38. A flag is down at the line of scrimmage. Curtis Duncan, who played at Northwestern, a 10th round pick this year. Does it count? Yes. Offside, Denver. Well, let's go back to that size advantage, Merlin Olsen. Undersized doesn't mean too soft, and you've usually got better quickness.
Number 27, defense lined up in the neutral zone. Penalty decline, first down.
You have to be more clever. You have to use more schemes in games. And Denver really has played that way most of the year, have they not?
Well, they played that way under Joe Collier for about 17, 18 years. Looking at that size again, and as we said, you'll see a lot of tricks and stunts and games by this Denver defense.
Moon throwing on first down, dumps it off to Rozier.
Fumble.
He can't hang on. I'm not sure he had control. No fumble. Incomplete pass is the call. Wilson, who recovered the fumble on the 1-yard line, thought he had his second.
One of the things you worry about with a young team is nerves, their nervousness. They were pretty cool in that locker room before the game, but Rozier obviously having a little trouble settling down here. And the other thing, in talking to both coaches, and we asked them the question, their greatest concern about this ball game, both of them instantly responded turnovers. That's one of the things they know they can't control. We've already seen the impact of that in this game already.
Rozier drawing a crowd of orange at the 40-yard line. Jim Ryan, an undersized linebacker. He weighs maybe 218 pounds. That's what they list him at. Number 50. He's had a big year, led the team in tackles. It plays the tough position, those linebackers on the outside in the Collier defense. They've got to be bright, and he's all of that. Played at William and Mary.
One of the things that Mike Rozier likes to do, Dick, is to cut back against the grain. He is especially effective in doing that on the artificial turf. The footing on this field, not nearly as good as he would have at home in the Astrodome. I don't think he's going to be as effective cutting back on this field.
3rd down and 9. Shotgun Moon. Screen, Gibbons, 50.
Ooh.
Open field. And Steve Wilson hits him at the 44. First down, Houston on a 17-yard play. And Ernest Gibbons tough in that open field. Mike Harden, a key player in the defense of the Denver Broncos, injured forearm. They're going to X-ray.
That would be the second strong safety. Harden, playing his 3rd position, had moved in after Dennis Smith had broken his arm. And, of course, they'd lost Randy Robbins with a broken leg, and now Harden has gone in. That really puts a dent in that defense.
Houston worried about having only 2 healthy cornerbacks, and Denver worried about that safety position. Moon off play action. Going deep down the middle, has a man. Drew Hill, first down at the 21. Hill's first catch. Drew Hill and Ernest Givens, between them, more passing yardage than any pair in the NFL. One of the secrets of this season pass.
I asked Warren Moon, I said, do you have a key receiver, the one you want to go to when the chips are down? 85, he said, without hesitation. You can see why. Drew Hill runs a nice pattern, and he has very, very secure hands.
Last week, 173 yards between them. They've just caught 40 yards between them, back-to-back completions. And Moon stays with the air game. An interception by Mecklenburg. Carl Mecklenburg still on his feet to the 28-yard line. Mecklenburg, who had 3 interceptions during the regular season, a Pro Bowler who seems to do everything so well, and in the right place again to pick off Moon and stop the Oiler drive. Carl Mecklenburg, his 4th interception, if you count the playoffs, and it stops the Oiler drive.
In Joe Collier's scheme, the hope was to confuse Moon, who's throwing that ball over Townsend, the defensive end. Did not appear to see Mecklenburg in the right place at the right time.
Elway sets up at the 28-yard line. Over the middle to the tight end, Kay. Look at him go free. Clarence Kay to the 41 of Houston before Robert Lyles can get him from behind.
One of the differences between these two teams, Denver's effective use of those tight ends as receivers. Clarence Kay, who had not been known as a great receiver until this year, really has come into his own in catching the football. He's always been powerful. Look at that. Boy, we talked about the hitting of the Houston team. Denver's doing its own hitting here today.
That was Domingo Bryant that was bowled over. Sewell looked like a pass, but no, then he tucks it away and eats it.
Well, I think he realized it wasn't going to work and wisely decided not to throw that football. Dick, we talked about the importance of turnovers. 2 turnovers already in this ball game. Both of these teams able to move the ball effectively. Watch Moon on the sideline. He's a cool customer. I'll tell you this. He's the kind of guy who doesn't worry about those mistakes. I think he'll be able to shake off that interception.
Well, the youth has one advantage, all that exuberance and the power and the speed and the willingness to sacrifice the body. But one of the concerns of Glanville was, being young, you fall into a series of mistakes, they tend to multiply on you. Elway gunning that ball complete. Vance Johnson to the 35, just short of a first down. Smith and Donaldson with a tackle.
Dick, I think that ball was tipped. I think that kissed off the shoulder or the hand of one of those players, and I think let's watch and see if we can see it here. It looks like somebody tips this football. Elway still has enough on it, goes right on through.
No, apparently not.
Maybe not. Looked like it had a funny little angle as it came over the line of scrimmage, but a nice play anyway. 3rd and short.
Vance Johnson with a catch. He led the Broncos with those 42 receptions in the regular year and had 7 for touchdown. 3rd and about 1.5 yards. Fake. Elway has a man open. Sewell.
No. Oh. A big gamble. They dive the running back over the middle in what appeared to be, again, both coaches willing to go to the bag of tricks and do some gambling early. But will Reeves elect to go on 4th down? I think he will.
Elway wants him to. They bring out Nattiel and Johnson and Jackson.
Now a timeout. I think he's going to take a timeout and check it out here.
Elway says, that's what I wanted to do all along. I hate to spend those timeouts, and it comes with 1 minute and 58 seconds remaining in the first quarter.
Watch the fake to Winder here. Holds the linebackers. A good reaction by Steve Brown, number 24, made Elway throw this ball a little better than he wanted to throw it. and out of the hands of the intended receiver.
January sunshine beaming down here in the Mile High City. 4th down and 2. Out of the shotgun, it appeared that Houston offside again. Wide open is Sewell. And only a saving tackle by Patrick Allen, or that would have been a touchdown. It is a first down either by penalty or by the play, if indeed it was the Oilers offside. It appeared to be so.
Youth and mistakes. They've had their combination here today for the Oiler defense. Offsides again.
Offside, number 71, defense, penalty declined, first down.
Richard Byrd. Steve Brown, the cornerback, about his own teammates, starting slowly this year. And Jerry Glanville yesterday indicated that really is part of his plan. It's a chess game. He wants to soften you up, beat on you a little bit. He feels he's better the second half, and he also wants to see what the defenses are doing, what he can do to the opposing offense.
Yeah, but I don't think he had in mind turning the ball over twice in the early going and giving Denver the easy points and an opportunity to move down on this drive.
First down for the Broncos inside the 30. Elway going deep for Kay. Touchdown. Hits the tight end deep.
Pete Bostic has had a Pro Bowl season, Dick, but you can't defend against a perfectly thrown ball.
And Kay catching it with the fingertips, stretching out at full speed. He's caught 2 today, a total of 56 yards in this first quarter for Kay, the tight end, who had a big year, 31 catches, and averaged 14 yards per catch. And, of course, Kay, a man who went to a drug and alcohol rehabilitation last year. They gave him a second chance, and he's had a great season in many ways, not just statistically. Carlos adds the extra point. Another flag down.
I think there was an offsides again on Houston, who just does not seem to be into gear, in particular defensively. They'll mark it off on the kickoff. Second mark off on kickoffs here. Let's go back and watch Kay working against number 25, Keith Bostic. Off the line of scrimmage, going to drive inside and then all the way to the outside. But watch how perfectly thrown this football is. There's no chance. Bostic not out of position. Kay just running a good pattern, and Elway lays it out there where only the tight end could catch it.
Good. I want to see this again because this is a remarkable play by Kay. Talk about great hands. He catches the back end of the ball. That ball's actually through his hands, and he's catching the back point of the ball for the touchdown. So Moon had driven the Oilers down deep in Denver territory, only to be intercepted by Mecklenburg. And then Elway took the Broncos back the other way quickly. And with 1 minute 26 seconds left in the first quarter, Denver leads 14-0.
Houston had hoped to keep this crowd quiet with their play. No way, right at this moment.
Alan Pinkett won't get a chance, as with a 5-yard penalty, Carlos again kicking it into the end zone. Well, you talk about the pitcher in baseball, that double play being your best friend. For the pitcher in football, those great hands. Yes, sir.
Gloves and all. A sliding stop. Well, you go into second base sometimes, isn't it? If you're looking to go to third.
Those soft hands, he could catch a canary. Clarence Kay. Boy, that smile tells it all for him. That's been different from the man we saw a year ago.
Yeah.
2 turnovers, 2 Denver touchdowns.
I'll tell you in a hurry why Jerry Glanville was so worried about turnovers.
But this Oiler club is explosive. They've got great wide receivers, but they stay on the ground here. And Greg Cregan puts a shoulder on Mike Rozier after short yardage.
The one thing we know from having had a chance to cover this Denver ball club over the years is that their defense is toughest when they have a lead on you, when they can afford to gamble and take some risks. When you're ahead of them, or when you have this game in even terms, it makes it difficult, much more difficult for them.
Not only are the Broncos tough in the first quarter, they're the best in the NFL in the fourth quarter. They allowed only 44 points in the entire season in the fourth quarter, so you better get to them one of those places.
A good start and a fast finish.
Moon down the middle. Incomplete. No flag. Givens the intended target. Haynes and Plummer to cover. A reminder to our viewers, we will be selecting the Budweiser Most Valuable Player in today's game. We'll announce that at the conclusion. (14-0) Broncos with 30 seconds remaining in the first period here at Mile High Stadium on a absolutely perfect football afternoon. 3 wide receivers to the left. Actually have 4 wideouts in the game. Shotgun Moon. Flags down. And I believe someone pulled off the 3-point stance.
False start, number 70, offense.
Dean Steinkuhler.
The Oilers were hurt early in this year by a lot of penalties, a lot of them personal fouls. Today they've had 5 penalties, 35 yards, most of them offsides penalties. And again, I think a reaction to the emotion of this game. Jerry Glanville had talked about keeping his players relaxed and cool. He's got the music playing in the locker room, but they're anything but relaxed here in this first quarter.
He indeed, when he talked with Ahmad Rashad, or with Paul McGuire, symbolized that, tried to be up and loose and not uncaring, but trying to have some fun. Last second, and a fumble, and covered by Houston back at the 12-yard line. Another mistake as the first quarter comes to an end.
The timing on the snap was off. They brought a man in motion from the outside. He turned to go back to the outside just as Jay Pennis in the center snapped to Moon. Watch it. There's the man in motion. And as he turned back inside, that ball hit him and went to the ground.
Ernest Givens. Unfortunately, Givens and Moon were able to cover for Houston. End of 15 minutes, and the Broncos lead by a couple of touchdowns. Hence Carl Mecklenburg, and certainly a star for his 15 years with the Rams, the Hall of Famer Merlin Olsen. And with George Allen, you didn't have many young kids. That was an experienced team. How about the youngness, the youth of this Houston team?
I think there are a lot of coaches that want that experience. Jerry Glanville wants the youth, I think, so he can control this football team. But with that youth, he also gets the mistake and the problem of bearing emotion.
Gossett, the punter, a wobbly boot. K.C. Clark at the 48 of Denver. Look out. Caught from behind at the 39-yard line. No flag. Jeff Donaldson, who played at nearby Colorado State, made the tackle.
Houston's punt coverage has given them problems throughout the year, especially in critical situations, and almost caused them real panic here. They were able to get good field position for this Denver offense, but it looked for a minute as if he might break it and go even further.
Jeff Gossett's punt was 40 yards, 13 on the return by Clark. Elway starts at the Houston 40. And he's going for another big one to Natil. Oh! Natil had slowed up Brown. The cornerback went flying by. But Ricky Natil, unable to come up with a pass, is coming over to help out was Jeff Donaldson.
When is a bad pass a good pass? Right here. The ball is underthrown, but Steve Brown, who has great coverage, is out of position, in too good a position, as Natil just slides back. Now watch Natil put on the brakes here, and Brown, who had really closed the distance beautifully, was not able to get on top of it. Natil almost had the touchdown.
Out of the shotgun on 2nd and 10. That's something, of course, the Broncos have brought to their offensive strategy. Shotgun first and second down this year. Drilled and almost intercepted by Donaldson, who had anticipated well. And a flag is down.
Dave Studdard is shaking his head over there. There have been some ineligible man downfield. You were saying who, me? Was I downfield?
Well, he's got a couple of touchdown passes in his career as an offensive tackle playing a...
Eligible receiver downfield on the pass. Number 70, offense. Second down.
Goal line situations, and maybe he was thinking I might get a lateral on that one. There are the official statistics. The Broncos, slight advantage in total yards, but that second to last line turnover is really the key to the entire first quarter.
And certainly one of the things that Houston can do to you if they have their way is control the football. They controlled it 2-1 over Seattle last week in a very dominant physical performance in that wild card game.
10-yard penalty, second down and 20. Middle screen.
Beautiful call.
Tony Bodie fighting to the 35-yard line. A gain of 15 before John Grimsley. And help can make the stop. Good blocks by Freeman and Humphreys in front.
You have to be a good actor on this play because you allow the defensive lineman to come through to penetrate and then sift those offensive linemen upfield in front of the ball carrier. Beautifully executed. The middle screen, and Denver has such a wide variety of plays. They come with a new package and new formations every week. It's really tough to handle that way.
30-second clock at 3. Elway, wide open is Sewell, and Steve Sewell knocked out of bounds by Robert Lyles. First down, Denver at the 27.
You get a look at that special face mask and helmet built to control the hits to the head. Sewell broke his jaw in a Raider game earlier in the year, and you see how they have built out that face mask to protect him from a hit into that jaw area. I tell you, the idea of going out there with still having a jaw, there you see a close-up of that special mask and how white it is. But, whoa, that's tough.
Sewell said, I feel like a lacrosse player.
Yeah, he looks like one with that outfit, too.
Leading 14-0. Elway and the offense going to work. It's Winder down to the 21. Al Smith, the middle linebacker from Utah State, a draft pick in the 6th round by the Oilers this year, made the tackle. The oldest starter on that Houston defense is 27 years old. That's Steve Brown. It's very, very young, and Jerry Glanville indicated he's going to keep it that way.
He wants them young. He wants them young. I think because he really feels that he has a chance to do a better job of motivating them. The other thing that's interesting, there's almost a college feel to this team. They throw themselves in there. They loop over the top. They don't care. They put their bodies in there, and that's what Jerry Glanville wants.
2nd and 5. Flag down. Quick throw to the tight end, Mobley, and he's inside the 15. It'll be a first down if it counts. Here to be motion against Denver. Mobley, who was in essence the eye back in motion and then continuing on his route.
We have an illegal motion foul on number 88, offense. 2 players moving simultaneously.
So
Second time. We've had 2 of those today. Of course, you're only allowed to have 1 man in motion. And Mobley on that play, as he came down the line, faked the block on the linebacker, and then dipped outside. A very subtle move, but it made it look like he was there to trap on the linebacker. Coming to the outside. Now watch him as he fakes the block right here. Just a little dip of the shoulders as if he's going to block right there. And then he breaks outside and is open to catch that football. It's sometimes those subtle little moves that set up the play for the offense.
We talked about Denver being undersized, not at that position with Mobley at 260.
Oh, no way.
Elway's first scramble, but he can't get the ball away. Finally tracked down by Charles Martin, number 94. First sack for the Oilers. Martin, of course, the man who was fined last year when he tried to bury McMahon in a game at Chicago, and released by the Packers this year, and has been a solid contributor to that defense of Houston.
They feel that he's going to be a good one for him. They give him a lot of playing time in there, and he's been a good citizen for them in Houston.
3rd down, 14.
A matchup of coaches here. Dan Reeves calling the offenses. Jerry Glanville calling the defenses. These are both hands-on coaches.
Elway checking that defense as he barks them out. Buying time. Intercepted for a moment by Donaldson. Couldn't hang on. Intended for Nattiel. Another flag is down. And the initial signal pointing at Houston.
Give these referees and officials a few more of those hankies. They're wasting them here today. They're all over the field.
It would have brought up 4th down and a...
Offside, number 95, defense lined up in the neutral zone. 3rd down.
Well, those are almost mental errors, not physical mistakes.
I'll bet that's the 5th offside penalty on this Houston defense here today. I mean, some of that is absolutely unforgivable.
In the rundown tomorrow, it just appears as a 5-yard penalty, but what it does to you, it extends the drive for Denver, gives them another chance instead of having to try a long field goal. Elway gets another shot at you on 3rd and 9. Over the middle to Steve Watson. Watson, who had 6 ribs fractured in the replacement game. He said he couldn't take a deep breath for 4 weeks, finally recovering and feeling okay. Played a little bit late in the season. Excellent receiver. Had 342 catches in his career coming into this year. Unable to pick that one off. And so on 4th down, Carlos to try a long field goal. This one will be 43 yards with Kubiak, the backup quarterback, to hold. Carlos 18 for 25 this year. Plenty of legs. 3 more for Denver. Rich Carlos, the Bronco kicker, hitting that one deep through the uprights, and with 11:40 left, Denver by 17. And here down in Denver, the Chinook breeze, a warm 45 as Carlos, with a 17-0 lead, drills it to Alan Pinkett, takes it out. And is stopped short of the 20 at the 17-yard line. Plummer and Braxton make the tackle. 11:31 left in the first half, Merlin Olsen, and the Houston Oilers have fallen behind by 17. This becomes a critical opportunity for them.
Dick, I think they have to come in here and do what they would like to have established very early in the game. Take advantage of that big, strong offensive line and let themselves start to establish some tempo with the running game. They have not been able to do that so far in the game, and that's really how they took control of the game last week against Seattle.
Moon play action to the tight end Jamie Williams out at the 23-yard line, and a flag is down again in the secondary. Williams from Nebraska caught only 13 from that tight end position this year. He's gone from 41 catches to 39 to 22 and only 13 this season. His role changing to a blocking tight end in the Houston scheme. It's against the Broncos and a big one. All the way out to the 39 as they tack on 15 after the catch.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 36. Defense, illegal blow to the head. 1st down.
That was away from the ball on the other side of the field. Mark Haynes.
Let's look at Mark Haynes. You see him right there. Bam. The elbow to the head. There is no question about that. Trying to establish some territory early with Ernest Gibbons, number 81. Gets the 15-yard foul.
Rozier to the 43-yard line. Haynes comes up to make the tackle. That was the knock on Mark Haynes, even though he was a 3-time Pro Bowler with the Giants, that Haynes did not play the run so well. But the last half of this year, Dan Reeves has been increasingly pleased with his work against the run as well as the pass. Played at Colorado nearby in Boulder. 2nd down, 6 Houston. They trail 17-0. Deep down the middle to Drew Hill, and no flag, although Hill thought that Wilson was tagging on his jersey. It did appear Wilson had a little piece of him, perhaps the ball uncatchable.
We talked about the stunning of the defensive line. Watch Cragen on the inside to the outside right here. We'll get the end moving to the inside. They don't want to give this Houston offensive line a shot at them. They're moving people in and out constantly to try and create a kind of a kaleidoscope, if you will, to try and confuse Moon and confuse the blocking assignments of this Houston team.
From the 43. Open over the middle and a fine catch by Ernest Givens. And he has a first down at the Bronco 45. Givens from Louisville, picked in the second round last year following Mark Clayton with the Cardinals of Louisville. Had 53 catches this year. That was 4 more than Drew Hill. Hill had a bit more yardage. They really complement each other. Each had 6 touchdown receptions.
There's an old rule: if you've got one great receiver, you really don't have one, because the defense can take him away from you. You add 2 receivers, then what do? You add a 3rd receiver and a 4th, and you've really got problems defensively.
And now the physical demands of that position have changed. 5'9" speedsters now playing at wide receiver. Rozier breaking a tackle, and he's to the 38. 7 yards for Rozier. Teammates say he radiates toughness.
He's a character, too. He'll tell you exactly what's going on in his head. He'll let you know. He has played with injuries all year long. Ankle and foot injuries earlier in the year. He's playing right now with a bad shoulder. He's attacking you.
And Alonzo Highsmith with him has a bad knee, injured against Seattle last week. A rare second and short. And Rozier does not get the first down. After being slowed up, it was Hundley who came over from one of those inside linebacker positions to put on the finishing touch. Greg Cragen, you talk about the undersized player from your alma mater, Utah State.
He's a guy coming from the inside out, trying to break away on the inside from Pennison, the center. And I say breakaway literally. Pennison had a little hold on his jersey there, but a good read inside out by Cragen, playing laterally as he's been trained to by Stan Jones, the defensive line coach here in Denver.
Just 245 pounds at that nose tackle. 3rd and 1. Play action. Moon in trouble. And he can't find the tight end Williams as the pressure came from Ryan and Simon Fletcher, 2 outside backers blitzing. And Moon was forced out of his mode and had to force the pass downfield.
We saw Denver go for the play action pass on a 3rd and short earlier and fail. And here Moon doing a good job of hiding that football, but did not fool number 73 Simon Fletcher, or 50 Jim Ryan, who made him throw the bad pass.
4th and 1. They'll go for it at the 36. Trailing 17-0. We have 8 minutes left, first half.
No shrinking violets here today.
And timeout, Warren Moon. Now, this is a place where you don't want to make a mistake. You have to maintain possession. Jerry Glanville's team needs desperately to score. Just late, this was a big play from inside his 5. A lateral pass into the end zone. Moon to Rozier. Can't handle the lateral. Denver recovered at the 1-yard line and went in for a quick touchdown. Now trailing 17-0. 4th and 1. It's a first down. Rozier over the top. Ricky Hundley secures the tackle, 2 yards for the Oilers, and they maintain the drive. And then, after trailing 7-0, Moon took his team downfield, had good field position inside the 20 and a first down, and watch 77 Mecklenburg sees pass, reacts, fills the zone, and Moon doesn't see Mecklenburg. Picks it off in front of Jamie Williams, a tight end, and then Elway took the Broncos from their own 28 down to score again. On a pass to Clarence Kay, a 43-yard field goal by Carlos. It's 17-0 here in the second quarter. Moon, lots of time. Through the hands of Highsmith and dangerously into the secondary of Denver.
Dick, it's difficult and wrong to judge this Houston team if you look at their pass record over the last 4 or 5 years. They really have come a long ways this year. You're looking at a man who has had to look at all the film and count the ways in which they have improved and then set his defenses for it. But I think that the one way that they have improved most, perhaps, as you see Collier signaling his defense in very quickly, is in their ability to come back when they're behind. They used to just flat quit. This is not a team that quits these days, and they need something here on this big drive.
2nd and 10. Rozier passing down. They run it, and it doesn't fool the Broncos. Simon Fletcher was there early. What a job he's done. He, of course, was a down lineman out of Houston, the University of Houston, but too small at 240, so Dan Reeves made him a linebacker, and it was slow going with the strike and all, but the last 4 or 5 games, they feel that Fletcher is living up to all their expectations. He may be the fastest man in the team for 40 yards. 3rd and 9. The Oilers pulled off the 3-point stance and then fumbled the snap. Bruce Matthews thought he heard something, and the right guard pulled back.
You want to watch what makes a center nervous inside and what makes a guard nervous. Here it is right here. 2 linebackers stacked up right at the line of scrimmage. These guys are trying to figure out, do I get him? Are they going to stunt? Is he going to go that way? Well, while they're thinking about that, there's the movement by Bruce Matthews, and the play doesn't matter. I'll tell you, that's the kind of thing you do to a young team. You make them think. You give them some confusion, and while they're confused, you hit them. Denver's done that well today.
Now a tough 3rd and 14. Moon can't find an open man. There he is, Drew Hill, but that's short of a first down at the 30. As Mark Haynes, who's played a big first half, makes the hit. And the Oilers are going to try to get something up on that scoreboard and bring on the field goal unit. That means Tony Zendejas will try about a 47-yarder. Now, wait a minute. Another penalty. It's against Houston. So they'll not be in field goal range unless the Broncos apparently are going to decline the penalty. They don't want to give Moon a chance even on 3rd and 19. Let's see.
Well, they may feel that this is outside of Zendejas' range, but I'll tell you, he can kick that ball a long ways.
Oh, this isn't out of his range. He has kicked a couple from 52.
Illegal formation foul. Number 77. Offense. 6 men on the line of scrimmage. Penalty declined. 4th down.
Bruce Davis, the tackle, who was primarily involved with Rulon Jones, apparently had lined up a yard back of the line of scrimmage, trying to get the edge on that rush, and therefore only 6 men on the line of scrimmage.
Well, as big as he is, he can line up in 2 places at the same time. He's traded over from the Raiders. There he is, 77, just too far off the ball.
46-yard attempt is good. He drew that one through, didn't he? Started it wide. A nice soft draw on it, and Houston has its first points of the game. It comes at the 5:57 mark, 2nd quarter.
Chance to watch Zendejas. He got the hook on that one, and look at him slide. It's that plant foot that has difficulty on this natural turf.
And Reeves leading 17-0. The ball at the 29. He refuses the penalty that would have made it 3rd and 19. Didn't want Moon to hit a big one. And Zendejas hits the 46-yard field goal to make it 17-3, and Ken Bell will take the touchback at the 20.
Dick, we talked about the footing of the difference from the natural turf to the artificial turf. Zendejas kicks so often off the artificial turf, he's used to being able to plant that foot aggressively. Watch what happens when he sticks that left foot there and tries to kick. Foot goes right out from underneath him, but actually it proved to be a godsend because it ended up hooking that ball back in between the uprights.
Yeah, they're watching there in Southern California, the Zendejas restaurants. Well, they were cheering last week when he delivered in overtime. From the 20. First down, Elway, tight end Mobley. Steve Brown with a shoulder, and Mobley has 9 yards. Steve Brown, his sister, of course, Olivia, one of the stars of Miami Vice, and I asked him if she were watching last week and rooting, and we've seen their fine United Way commercial, and he said not only was she watching, she kept hearing this beeping sound, didn't know where that was coming from, and then finally realized that someone had broken into her car while she was watching the game. Fortunately, nothing serious was taken, and went on to root for the Oilers. That was much more important. First down and more for Winder out to the 34-yard line. And even though the size advantage, Merlin, is with the Oilers, it appears that on both sides that the Broncos are beating them off the ball.
They're using their quickness to take advantage of what they do best offensively, and again creating confusion. Denver's offense will come at you with so many different looks and plays that, again, their philosophy is they want to have you standing there saying, and what are they going to do now? What's the blocking combination? Who's in motion? They do so many things, it's tough to put a handle on it.
Elway throws one high and long and out of bounds. Natil well covered by Steve Brown. Now the Oilers are hopeful they'll get the ball at least another opportunity, and by halftime a score that can cut into that 17-3 lead.
Crowd very quiet. This stadium is built in such a way that you really feel the crowd. They're very close to the field. You see how little room there is between the edge of the playing field. The proximity of this crowd at times makes them so much bigger. I mean, you feel like there are more than 76,000 here, and they can really be a factor in the game, in particular at the horseshoe end of this stadium.
Especially when you have the ball and you're the quarterback trying to shout out the signals.
You better believe it.
Third down, Elway looking, and now going long. Wide open is Johnson. All the way to the 11-yard line, Vance Johnson. And the key to that, Merlin, how many quarterbacks can throw it that far?
Elway simply uses that great arm strength, but the other key, obviously, Elway could have eaten his lunch back there, and you can't give a Vance Johnson with his speed that kind of time. Jeff Donaldson, number 31, simply doesn't have the speed to stay with him. Look at the amount of time that Elway has. Just a little movement back there, and then he pumps that ball about 55 yards in the air.
Oof, on a line. I mean, that wasn't a floater. That ball was drilled deep. 55 yards, indeed, officially on the play. Winder inside the 10.
Watching Elway throw that ball, Dick, I'm reminded of the first time we met Elway, coming to Denver and sitting down with him. So shy and timid in his own way and humble in his own way. And I remember coming away and saying, that's John Elway. Do you remember that day?
You wanted more, that's right. They call him Duke now because he's so silent. He kind of has a swagger to his stride. Yeah, no one's done better in the last 4 years.
No one has done better, and he certainly has grown into that responsibility and lived up to the promise that was given him, and he was made a first-round draft pick several years ago.
Inside handoff to Sewell. Fake the toss, then trapped and brought Sewell back inside for 5. It won't be a first down. Third and about 3.
Another one of those unique plays to this Denver offense, and you see why they like Sewell back in that lineup. He can do so many different things. He'll come in and block for you. He's a fine receiver. He can carry that ball coming in motion as he did on that occasion, and that's one of the things that Dan Reeves really likes to be able to do.
Oilers have called timeout. And during the course of this year, and of course we could put up a list for every team in the NFL. No one gets through cleanly, but there have been some critical losses for the team coached by Dan Reeves. And as running backs, Gerald Wilhite out for the year with a broken leg there in the Minnesota game. Sewell with a broken jaw. The defensive secondary, they lost Louis Wright. They didn't expect that. He retired in summer camp.
Talking to Reeves, he said that he felt Elway had carried more of the load this year. And I think a year ago, we were here to do a playoff game and said no player in the NFL was more important to his team's success than John Elway. And yet here this year, I think that's even more true.
Coming up at halftime, Bob Costas will have an interview with a very happy man, Washington Redskins coach Joe Gibbs. victorious at Chicago today. Bob will be joined by Miami coach Don Shula. They'll analyze the first half of this game. Paul McGuire, who picked the Oilers to win by 10 points, and Ahmad Rashad, who's still trying to decide, will offer their insights from here in Denver. I wonder if one of them might be able to get to some of those Houston players. I am curious as to whether or not that very critical play down on the 1-yard line, the fumbled lateral, whether or not that was a lateral pass and throw, or whether or not they were just trying to get a flat pass out to Rozier.
I believe, Dick, that's the kind of play that you've decided you're going to use coming into the game. You want to shake the other team up. You want to shake their defense up. Show them you're willing to do anything. And that's the kind of play that many coaches would have backed away from when they found themselves backed up to their own goal line. Houston didn't, and it cost them dearly.
And now they're trying to stop Denver from building on that 17-3 lead. Offside again by Houston. Quarterback draw Elway to the 1. And another flag down. It appeared that veteran Jesse Baker was the man who jumped offside this time.
Elway again showing his experience level as he used his voice to coax that defense offside. Planned quarterback draw, and I believe he picked up the first down. So here's Jesse Baker right here. Now watch him. He's listening to that quarterback right in the middle of your screen, listening instead of watching that football. Now that's not Baker. That's number 79.
Is that Childress?
That's Ray Childress. Yeah.
You know, the old days, Merlin, remember we used to just say the signals would be basically ready, set, 1, 2, and you'd hut. But now it's that hut, hut, and on the first hut, if you're going, the second hut, it snapped, you're offside.
Very often what a quarterback will do, he'll set a tempo where he's gone on the second hut through a lot of the ball game. And in a critical situation where he needs that 5 yards, he'll call it on a third or a fourth, and then he'll bark that second hut, and a defense that's been conditioned to a second hut will step offside.
Now, Elway wants the measurement on his run first. If it's a first down, he'll take the play. The penalty, of course, only half to the goal line, so they'll take the play. Elway says, yeah, that's good enough. First and goal.
Guys, number 99 defense, penalty declined, first down.
Well, they're calling the penalty now against number 99, Doug Smith.
Well, I think the official may have gotten an incorrect call. It was 79. It was Childress that jumped offside.
So it's first and goal, Broncos at the 1-yard line, approaching the 2-minute timeout. They already lead 17-3. Elway trying to jam it in himself, and the Oilers, of course, trying to rip the ball away, and whistle you could hear sounds dead before the ball ripped free, and that will be the timeout.
Eric Ferris, number 51, sliding in to slap that football out of Elway's hand, but the whistle had blown.
And this may come as a surprise to you, Merlin. No penalties on the play.
That is a surprise.
And we'll be back at Mile High Stadium where the Broncos threatening to really gain a huge advantage over Jerry Glanville's Oilers. Come up with some verbal magic.
He's one that can do that.
You sure can.
He's a motivator. He'll need it in the locker room.
First and goal from the 1. Denver leading. Elway. Wide open is Clarence Kay for his second touchdown. And Elway looked off the defense. He appeared to be going to Winder Mobley over in the corner all the way, and at the last minute wheel turned back, and there was Kay all by himself.
One of the things that separates a great quarterback is his ability to find the open receiver. There's no question. He wanted the receivers that were driving into the corner of the end zone. But look at him. Out of the corner of his eye, picks the open receiver, Clarence Kay, all by himself, and the ball is in the air inside.
Rich Carlos with the extra point. 1 minute 52 seconds remaining in the first half, and a big Denver lead.
Have to turn back against the grain to make that catch. Play coming from the left side of your screen underneath, and there's no one home. Blown assignment on the Houston defense. No one there to guard against the pass.
And he was open from the time he left the line of scrimmage, wasn't he? Here's Carlos's kick. Pinkett at the 3. backwards out to the 23. And some flags go down.
Well, the emotion's beginning to flare on the field, and I think to be expected. There's a great deal of frustration, in particular, on the Houston sideline. And Dick, one of the toughest jobs that Jerry Glanville has had these past couple of weeks.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness on number 89, Houston, number 38, Denver, penalties offset, first down.
Jeff Parks and Bruce Plummer.
One of the toughest jobs that Jerry Glanville has had is that coming into this season, they just wanted to win, and their expectations were not very great. So that when they made the playoffs, they celebrated, and they had to come back and go to work again. They won last week. They celebrated again. Denver, on the other hand, has had their progression all lined up. They really won't have their celebration until they win in the Super Bowl, and I think that has helped them to keep their concentration intact on this game.
Short snap to Highsmith. Oh, right into the arms of Rick Dennison, number 55. Well, they tried, instead of the shotgun pass from Moon, to go to the up-back Highsmith, and so far Alonzo Highsmith has not been a factor.
Trick plays do not work very well in a situation where they're expected, and that's exactly what happens here. They're faking the snap to Moon. It goes directly to Highsmith, but that's what Denver is expecting to see happen here.
2nd and 11. Steve Wilson on a cornerback blitz. They get it off to Willie Brewery. He's not even 5'9". He's more like 5'7". He's the shortest of the lot. It is not first down yardage as Lilly makes the tackle. Trying to hurry with time short for Houston. Boy, it would be, again, you talk about the emotions, down 24-3. That's a big difference from 24-3 to 24-10. And that's what Moon wants to do, get a big one here. Down the middle. Ooh, Drew Hill is the intended target.
Willin Jones right there to take Moon down. Harry Markwright saying no, he didn't take more than a step and a half. And that hurry maybe cost Moon a chance for the reception here. You'll see Rulin coming from the backside. Well, I'll tell you, the rule I think has really helped.
It really has.
Putting the responsibility on those defensive linemen, I think, has really helped to protect the quarterbacks this year. And I think that was a good rule change.
I won't even ask you about the instant replay and how you vote.
I've never changed my vote on that one.
Nor have I. And the sense is that that may not be back next year. So 4th down, and what a kick by Gossett. He roots out a spiral to Clark all the way to the 14. And Fairs and Birdsong make the tackle. Craig Birdsong just activated a couple days ago. He's a wrestler that Jerry Glanville found in the Houston area. There he is, and boy, he says, if you ever want to see me, I've got some special holds for you. My reverse flip drop kick and my bulldog. He says that's bulldog. That is carryover value.
Well, I tell you, Jerry Glanville said, we just hope he'll make a couple of big plays on special teams. He made a big one there, but I think Denver's going to be content just to watch this clock run out and walk into that locker room with a big, big lead.
Oilers have only one timeout, and Winder protecting the football. Straight ahead, no sense that Houston will spend that timeout. That might be the last play of the half.
Dick, one of the dangers of being creative is that you sometimes get a little too smart. And I think Houston's decision to use their deception and trickery deep in their own territory certainly backfired on them and set the tempo for a first half that really took them out of what they do best, which is to play physical football. They have not had a chance to take advantage of that huge offensive line to hammer a small Denver defense, and as a result have really found themselves playing a finesse game, playing the passing game, playing the catch-up game, and that's something they don't do very well.
And as you see Dan Reeves walk off, you can almost read his mind knowing his nature. He's probably saying, boy, it's almost too good. 24-3. Everything comes out. A new papa this week. New son, his second son, 4th in the family for the Moons, Jeffrey Warren. And he'd like to go home and present a nice little surprise to new son and wife, but at this moment trails 24-3. We'll find out in a hurry. His first series whether they're going to go back to first page and start all over again, or whether or not they're going to come out throwing. And they're going to run it on first down. And Rozier doesn't get much at all, as they didn't earn too much in the first half, and here are the official statistics in the first half.
Denver has done a great job of containing the Oilers when they have run. Look at that. 23 yards rushing. And Moon, who has thrown a great deal, only has 89 through the air. Denver with 194 yards, but we talked already about the crucial number there, which is in white, the 2 turnovers that really set up the 14 early points that put Denver up so quickly in this ball game.
The Oilers go with 4 wideouts: Hill, Drury, Gibbons, and Duncan on 2nd and 9. Almost picked off by Steve Wilson, intended for Drew Hill.
You can afford to gamble a great deal when you're this far ahead, and you can afford to take some risks. Drew Hill getting a good jump inside, but Braxton is there, and of course Wilson, who's done a good job at that corner position since he moved in there, is right there as well.
What a handy man he has been for the Broncos. He'll play anywhere. Special teams, play at the corner, underrated. He's an overachiever and is typical of that Denver style. 3rd and 9, flag down. Down the middle, incomplete. It was intended again for Drew Hill. And let's check the penalty flag. Jeff Gossett and the kicking team comes on. Another call against the Oilers. They're looking at a possible record in the playoffs the way they're going.
Number 85, offense. Penalty decline, 4th down.
That's not the kind of record you want to set. And after Jerry Glanville's halftime speech, the Oilers have come right out and repeated their mistakes and turned the ball over. 3 and out is not what he had in mind.
Gossett delivers. Casey Clark, fair catch at the 42 of the Broncos. Well, that would have been, had he then accepted the penalty, the 8th against the Oilers. Most of them 5-yard motion and offside penalties. The record in the playoffs is 14, and that twice. The Raiders being one of those teams, and the 49ers another. And interestingly, both those teams won the game and went on to win the Super Bowl.
Let's see what Jerry Glanville has planned defensively. I think he has to be thinking about getting some heat on Elway, and John has been able to get himself out of there, been able to take advantage of this Oiler defense.
And they don't play it conservatively. Reeves has him throwing, and open is Johnson. 30, looking for a block. There's not, is he hit? That's got to be a penalty, and is. Coming in late was Grimsley, and that perhaps part of the anger. And of course, that's been part of the Houston season. They've developed a new reputation, and go to Chuck Noll or anyone else, and they feel that they've gone beyond the tackle, the good tough tackle at times.
This is not necessary, and although I have
Unnecessary roughness, number 59, defense. 1st down.
I've watched enough Houston film to know there aren't a lot of cheap shots, that one is totally unnecessary by Grimsley.
So they'll tack on half the distance down to the 13-yard line.
It's got to be frustrating for the secondary for Houston. They're right there with great coverage, and again, Elway under heat. They had the blitz on him, put that ball up, way underthrown. The receiver adjusts and comes back to make the catch. Here's that hit again. He was already on the ground. Totally unnecessary.
Well, Johnson, fortunately, all in one piece, although he's checking the parts.
He had a dislocated shoulder just about 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. Well, that body's not quite healed yet.
Interesting call. First play for the Broncos second half. They throw on the second down. Almost intercepted by the Oilers, and that ball up in the air where the Oilers might have gotten the break that they need. A touchdown quickly going the other way. Grimsley was in the thick of it, and Donaldson was the man looking for the ricochet.
Dick, this is the kind of pattern that Elway has had all day. He had 5 passes caught by his tight ends in the first half. Tight ends are H-backs. Mobley getting some big ones in the first half. Vance Johnson, the only wide receiver to catch the ball in that first half, had 3 receptions. He's got 4 now on the game for big yardage. But that's the kind of thing Denver does to you. They get you thinking about those wide receivers, and they go somewhere else.
Johnson, a very outspoken player, and has been quoted heavily in the Houston papers, and Grimsley, of course, and others felt that maybe he had something coming. Underneath to Natil to the 6-yard line. That won't be a first down. 7 yards on the play.
Very quickly, Mike Shanahan, who coordinates this offense for Dan Reeves, said, okay, you've made your adjustments to our tight end passes, and now we're going to come out and throw it to the wide receiver.
This is really an interesting series for the Broncos. You've got a 3-touchdown lead. Many coaches would come out, run the football, chew up the clock. They've thrown the ball on every down since they had this first possession of the third quarter.
That's not the Broncos style, although in the first half, the Broncos ran it 15 times and threw it 16 times. Well balanced in that first half.
Timeout, Denver, on 3rd and 3. Stadium in Denver, Colorado, where the team with the top record in the AFC, the Denver Broncos, flexing its muscles against underdog Houston, 24-3. This is a 3rd down and 3 for Elway and Denver. Throws back across the grain and no one there. Clarence Kay, the tight end, was the closest eligible receiver to the ball. And so Rich Carlos will come on to try a short field goal for Denver. Keith Bostic from Michigan, Pro Bowler, on the coverage.
Right there, and Houston declaring their hand. They're going to blitz Elway. They're going to try and create the big play. They blitzed themselves out of trouble after a couple of big losses earlier in the year against Cincinnati and Cleveland. They came back and blitzed San Diego on every play, put themselves back in the race.
23-yard attempt. Carlos is 2 for 2 today. He had a 43-yarder in the first half. Denver builds its lead. Play they'll talk about in Houston tomorrow, the choice of a lateral pass in your own end zone that becomes a Denver fumble recovery on the 1. Your thoughts, Ahmad Rashad?
About it. The play was intended to be a lateral, but they intended for Rozier to catch the ball and then run with it. So I guess they faked themselves out almost, because you throw the ball to him, he has an option to pass, but he doesn't pass. He ends up trying to run the ball. I guess the only thing that it was that they that he didn't have the handle on the football.
Still had to catch it first. Allen Pinkett deep. It's 27-3 Denver early in the third quarter. Pinkett at the 3. A gap that closed in a hurry. Braxton and Plummer, 2 rookies. Let's go back to that play. Without a huddle, they tried to catch Denver, finding it's either 3 men off to the left and then Rozier behind him. Rozier took his eye off the ball, fumbled a lateral. A live ball now. Roland Jones knocked him off the football, and Steve Wilson recovered. And Denver's second possession, starts on the 1-yard line for Houston, an easy touchdown, and that really set the mood and the tempo of that entire first half. Moon to Givens. Brought down at the 33-yard line. Tyrone Braxton seeing a lot of duty with a fractured forearm of a key defender, Mike Harden. He's out.
What a difference a week makes, Dick. In Houston this last week, the Oilers totally dominating a team that beat Denver at home during this regular season. You look at what they were able to do rushing the football. 178 yards. And look at the time of possession. Doubling, more than doubling the time of possession. Well, they have not been able to utilize their talent in that direction here today.
You got to give Denver credit in their defense. Moon underneath to Rozier. He stopped at the 40-yard line. A gain of 5. It'll be 2nd and 5. Mecklenburg and Hundley, and on the stop. And Rozier is not getting up. As Merlin pointed out in the first half, it's been a troubled year for Rozier in terms of staying 100% health-wise. And that, there's so many advantages to winning your division, having the week off, getting a wild card team. But you tell that to the 49ers, they wouldn't believe it. That's what Minnesota did. But with their style of play, and the Oilers want to punish you if you have the ball. They hit hard, and that's the trademark of Glanville's teams. But it also hurts you when you hit hard.
Well, you have to hit with your body. There's no question about it. Dick, you made a good point about Denver's defense. They really have taken the play away from Houston's offense today.
There's the play, Rozier. They're attending to him, so we have a timeout early third quarter. Working on that left shoulder. And, you can see he's in pain as they manipulate that left shoulder. And meanwhile, Denver Broncos wide receiver Vance Johnson walking to the dressing room. You see how heavily bandaged that right thigh is. Groin area. It was a groin injury suffered when hit by Grimsley.
They say he will be taped up and will return to the game.
Trailing 27-3. It's 2nd and 5 Houston at their 40. Highsmith, the lone setback, draw to Highsmith, gets only 2. Freddie Gilbert, number 90, we knew we'd see him, was in there in a hurry. And the Oilers feel they're the best draw team in football, but it hasn't worked today.
It certainly hasn't. And again, a lot of that is opportunity. When a defense can keep you trapped in your own territory, when they know you have to throw the football, when you don't have clean and clear-cut options, you really are in trouble. And look at where the Oilers and the Broncos have started with the football today. An average of their own 18 for the Oilers. Best start on the 23-yard line.
Little option out to Highsmith with some running room. And he powers out of bounds at the Denver 46-yard line with a first down.
Alonzo Highsmith. Boy, we got a chance to chat with him yesterday. What a fine young man he is. His dad played here when he was 4 and 5 years old as a member of the Denver Broncos, was a center, and then later played a year with the Oilers. And Highsmith said, the family always loved the city of Denver. And he said, in fact, my mother wants to come back here and live someday.
It's the kind of guy I like. Started as a defensive player, linebacker, defensive end, even when he first went to Miami. Then they turned him over and made a fullback out of him.
He says, I still think I could be an all-pro as a linebacker. There's still something inside him that says, I want to play defense. Down the middle to Gibbons. And close to an interception was Mark Haynes.
Let's go back to Highsmith for just a second. He's been a very bright note. Was not happy with contract terms, came in late, had a little trouble adjusting. But Dan Reeves, who really wanted to draft him in the draft early, said he's the best true fullback to come out of the draft since I've been in pro football. He's got the strength to go inside, the speed to go outside, and there's not a linebacker in the league he can't block. Now, that's pretty heavy stuff from Dan Reeves, who's been around quite a while and seen some fine football players.
Well, he, of course, caught those passes of Testaverde and Kozar at Miami. He caught 92 passes, so he's got the great hands as well. 2nd and 10. Again, snap directly to the up-back Pinkett, and he gains only a couple to the 45. That play has not worked. Rulon Jones, 75. Mecklenburg, 77. How many times? You do a Denver game, you better get that phrase all set. Rulon Jones and Carl Mecklenburg.
Mike Munchak, number 63, and Rulon is playing pass all the way, made a pass-rushing move on Munchak and found the ball carrier right in his arms. So, oh, wait a minute, I got you.
Well, there you talked about, though, how they're going to counter with quickness, how quick Jones had jumped into the slot.
He really is quick. That's been his strength since he came out of Utah State.
Jones is after him and makes a fine throw, moon to Highsmith. Alonzo Highsmith and a first down at the 30.
We just mentioned the pass-catching skills of Highsmith, and you see Highsmith limping. We mentioned the knee injury last week that limited his time last week. He's a great athlete. Moon does a good job of standing in. They get a lot of pressure from Mecklenburg on the backside. Moon just barely got that ball away, but picks up the first down.
That was a tough throw under pressure from Warren Moon. Rozier, the word is, through shoulder, nothing more than that. And that's no more information than that.
A lot of pain. We could see that part.
That was Highsmith's first catch, good for 16 yards. Out of the backfield to Pinkett. Bulldog down by Steve Wilson at the 24. Gain of 5.
One of the changes in plan for this Houston team, they did not throw to their backs in that first half. They come out throwing to the backs here. trying to get something going. They've got to get some points on the board. June Jones way over on the sideline, signaling in plays. He makes the calls over there with an assist. There he is, an assist from Jerry Glanville and several of the other offensive coaches.
Givens making the head fakes of a point guard drive in the lane to the 13th and a first down. Ernest Givens. He competed in the NFL's Fastest Man. That's been a feature on our NBC Sports World. Didn't quite succeed this year, but one of the final 8. Ron Brown, the champion. Darrell Green, who had that big punt return for a touchdown to lead the Redskins to victory today, was the winner 2 years ago. The Oilers' best drive of the game. Dumps it off to Highsmith. To the 7. Ricky Hundley makes the tackle. Well, the Oilers have had an abundance of #1 picks, and there they are, including Kent Hill, they acquired by trade from the Rams.
Big stack of them in there, and it's draft picks don't win for you. Football players do, but certainly there are some very, very talented football players in that list, and the key has been to find a way to give them an opportunity to show their talent. Jerry Glanville has been able to do a better job than any of the other Houston coaches, and they've had a pass of them in the last few years.
Next up by the Oilers, they're running out of time, and timeout has been called. Just to finish the thought, Glanville has 2 more #1 picks in the upcoming draft, their own, and the one acquired from the Rams in the Jim Everett trade.
There's Bud Adams up high in his box here, the owner of the Houston team.
Not a comfortable seat at all for the Oilers executive.
This branch office automation project was a monster. I figured a good workout would help me work things out. At Hewlett-Packard, the only way we come up with something that isn't what everyone else would do is to keep asking those questions.
The test of a great airline is not just how fast it moves you in the air, but how fast it moves you on the ground. That's why at some of the busiest airports in the world, United Airlines offers you the most advanced baggage systems, faster ticketing and boarding procedures, and the most spacious, convenient, efficient terminals in the business. United Airlines. From the ground up, rededicated to giving you the service you deserve. Come fly the friendly skies.
You may not have thought of buying a Sears Die-Hard battery until you've had a little time alone to think about it.
And now, a word from a man who refuses to take the Drixoral his pharmacist recommends for 12 hours of cold relief. Drixoral, the pharmacist's favorite.
This 5-foot putt capped a $370,000 win for Fuzzy Zeller at the '86 Skins game.
Fuzzy Zeller wins everything in sight.
Kid stuff. Palmer, Player, Rodriguez, and Sneed, the senior Skins. The good old boys are back.
After the timeout, 2nd and 4. The Oilers' deepest penetration of the game, trailing 27-3.
Intercepted in the end zone by Haynes. He's going to take it out. Mark Haynes could go all the way. Highsmith catches him. Alonzo Highsmith, at 240 pounds, saves a 102-yard touchdown. Even at that, it's a 60-yard return for Mark Haynes, who has perhaps played his best game as a Bronco.
Alonzo Highsmith told you he still thought he could play some defense. Well, he got his chance. That's not what he had in mind. Moon with an opportunity to go after the touchdown. locks it up right in the hands of Mark Haynes, and the ball is headed back the other direction. And once again, Denver starts in Houston territory, and the turnover has raised its ugly head.
Well, two good trips into Denver territory, engineered by Moon, and both ended in interceptions. Direct snap to Sewell again, and Sewell with short yardage up the middle. Let's go back to the interception.
Watch the play again. Moon trying to drill this into his favorite receiver, Hill, and just threw it behind Hill, maybe misjudging the cut. Moon obviously totally upset, but Warren, go tackle a guy. Come on, don't just stand there.
I think Haynes himself had a second thought before he took it out. And Highsmith was able to hustle, and it was 57 yards on the return officially. Now 2nd and 8, Denver. Winder doing just that. Looked as if someone pulled the string and sent him in a spin. Lyles makes the tackle, and Warren Moon, his interception and a must opportunity for Houston. So close, and they are so far. 5:58 left in the third quarter. Clarence Kay is hurt.
Looking at his wrist. Well, it's a question now of what you're going to have left to play with when you go up against Cleveland next week.
Denver, if they succeed today, will host the Browns for the AFC title next Sunday. Incomplete off the hands of rookie Ricky Nattiel. And for those of you wondering how it would all work out, if Denver wins, they will host Cleveland here in the late game. The Minnesota at Washington game for the NFC title will be the early game, basically 12 o'clock Eastern time, 9:30 in the West, and then the late game here in Denver, if they win, at 1 o'clock Eastern time. We'll take that 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, I believe, Dick.
4 o'clock Eastern time, 3 o'clock here in Denver.
Great kick, but it'll go into the end zone. Houston trying to block it. They're trying to get any kind of thing going here.
I'm going to get my time right here. It's going to be 4 o'clock in New York, Denver hosting him, 2 o'clock in Denver, and 1 o'clock in the West. They work on Clarence Kay. Timeout.
What time will that be in Los Angeles?
Let me check my old watch again. Colorado, capital city is Denver. And the mile-high skyline on a beautiful January afternoon. Houston. Well, the bare facts are it's 27-3 against as they start from the 20. Moon trying to hit Pinkett. Ryan there on the coverage. High-quality person, Warren Moon. You have the sense about this man that whatever he decides to do, he will accomplish. They're talking about politics, and he's already a very successful businessman and obviously a star athlete. And yet no one picked him out of the University of Washington, where he was the Rose Bowl MVP.
Well, they certainly would have if he hadn't signed early into Canada, Dick. That was more responsible for that problem than anything else. Highly thought of.
Underneath to Highsmith, running the wrong way. Gilbert drags him down at the 5. Michael Brooks in there, a rookie from LSU, 56, also had a piece of the action.
Young football teams certainly can be emotional. They certainly can provide you a lot of strength and energy, but we've seen the other edge of that dual-edged sword today. They're also prone to making mistakes. Highsmith, a rookie mistake, trying to make the giant play in a situation where there was none to be made.
Back at the 7-yard line. 3rd down and 23. Drew Hill, and he's got a first down at the 31-yard line on a strike from Moon. 23 on the play.
Very, very nice pass and reception. Dick, flashing back to something we talked about earlier. But before we talk, we won't look at that, even though it was a nice play from Drew Hill. But I talked about expectations earlier, about teams where they expected to finish in this season. And a team like New Orleans, for example, that looked so good at the finish of this season, coming on so strong, everyone's saying this is a team that can be in the Super Bowl. I think they celebrated a little hard after making it to the playoffs. Couldn't get going here. I think perhaps Houston a victim of that same kind of thing.
Jones chasing Moon. And Moon able to dance along the sidelines and pick up about 8. Then how do you explain the Vikings? I mean, they thought they were out of it. They got in because of other circumstances after losing to the Redskins, and yet they come through with 2 incredible victories as lopsided underdogs.
Well, I would say that the Vikings, certainly in terms of their coach, have been there so many times that they're not new to that situation. I think they were looking far enough down the road to really believe that the reward they wanted was not necessarily just making the playoffs, although they were happy about that, but what they were looking ahead to was that Super Bowl. I think that's realistically the thing that has kept Denver so solidly on track here.
And it may be, too, that the fact that they didn't think they'd be in it at all, they didn't have a chance to celebrate. They just went out and took after business. Townsend and Cragen make the tackle, short yardage that it appears to be, well, they may have to measure, close to a first down.
I think one big difference between this team and the Viking team is age. The Vikings are not a young football team. They've been around for a while.
And the franchise's history of being a team in the playoffs often.
This Oiler team has not beaten a playoff team, if you discount last week's game against Seattle, since the Bum Phillips era. And their record during that period of time, one that they just as soon forget about.
Those were the love you blue days, and then it can turn to love to blue. Moon extricating and sliding out with a 5-yard gain.
Let's talk about Moon and Elway in the comparison. There's no question that Moon is a good runner. But usually, Moon runs for his life and does not run with the purpose that Elway runs with. John is most dangerous as he comes away from the play and breaks off. There he is on the sideline as we've watched Rulon Jones come to the sideline holding his hand.
Yeah, another injury. Rulon Jones, and he's holding his hand very delicately, just as Kay had an injured hand. Now Jones is out, and the injuries for the Broncos may be more important in their Super Bowl hopes than what appears to be a lopsided game. Underneath to Duncan, hit by Haynes at the 50. It'll be shy by a yard of a first down.
There's Rulon Jones on the sideline. Steve Antonopoulos, the trainer in the blue jacket to the left of your screen. Boy, he has had his hands full. He said he has never seen a year like this year. The seriousness and the multitude of injuries that have beset these Broncos, and yet here they are, well ahead in this playoff game, looking to the AFC Championship game for the second year in a row. Looking at the left hand, and of course, for a pass rusher, those hands are the prime tool.
Leverage to keep the distance away from the blockers. 3rd and 1. And Pinkett diving forward a couple of yards and a first down for the Oilers with 1:05 left in the 3rd quarter.
Let's go back to that Moon and Elway comparison just for a second, because I think it's worthwhile. Moon certainly can run, and he's not afraid to run, but he has not been able to take advantage of that mobility and that kind of running ability in anywhere near the same way that John Elway has. If you look at their competitive stats on the day, which
those are the passing.
Well, let's show you the passing stats. But what Houston has done for Moon this year is to give him some planned mobility, some rollouts where he can use his running ability, and even some options. We saw him run an option here a little while ago.
Underneath, and Givens the intended target, but Moon had to let go sooner than he wanted because Steve Wilson, for the second time in on a corner blitz, was putting on the pressure.
We are not seeing Warren Moon in one of his best games. A much bigger game last week, and he certainly has come on in the last part of this season. But I think he is a force that is going to have to be reckoned with in the AFC in the next few years. And I like what Warren Moon brings to this Houston team.
And he's only 31. Has those 6 years up in the CFL, 5 Grey Cup titles with the Edmonton Eskimos, now in his 4th year in Houston. And he finally has the same offensive coordinator for a couple of years in a row.
You learn new offenses every year. It makes it tough to get comfortable.
Alan Pinkett for 8 to the 40. Might be the last play of the 3rd quarter. Mike Rozier will not play the remainder of the game, a shoulder injury. And that will be it for the 3rd quarter at Mile High Stadium. A tough one to digest for the Oilers. They trail 27-3. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. Johnson, a groin injury, has returned from the locker room. It appears that he's okay. The report on Rulon Jones, a dislocated finger. No report yet on Kay's hand injury. Mike Harden is out, a broken forearm for Denver today.
The difficulty for Rulon Jones, he's left-handed, lines up in a left-handed stance. That means that left hand is the one that goes down on the ground. The dislocated finger will give him some real difficulty.
We start the 4th quarter. Jones going in for some medical help. The Oilers trailing 27-3. The only points of this second half, a field goal by Rich Carlos of Denver, and Pinkett on 3rd and short did not appear to pick up the first down. Broncos playing short-handed defensively. And Jones, a key member of that team.
He'll go in for x-rays, I believe, just to make sure there's not a broken bone to be worried about before they, I'm sure, ice up that finger. And
no measurement required. It's 4th and 1. Well, now Jerry Markbride will bring in the chains.
Statistics through the first 3 quarters, and look at the bottom line. The Oilers have jumped out with time of possession and ball control, but that's a stat that Denver will happily relinquish at this point in the game. They're more concerned about eating that clock with the big lead than anything else. 220 yards, and Moon has moved the ball, but again, he has not been able to get it into the end zone when it counted.
Well, 3 turnovers, 1 on the Oiler 1-yard line that really set the pattern for the day, and 2 others deep down in Denver territory that denied Houston scores. Interceptions of Moon passes, both inside the 20. Nothing to do but go for it on 4th and 1. And they've started the 30-second clock already at 22 before Moon gets into the huddle.
Quarterback sneak by Moon, and it looks like he may have picked up enough to
I don't know.
gather that first down.
They may have to measure on 4th and 1. He got only 1, and look at that spot. They're going to have to take another look.
Glenville's asking why they moved the ball back. He said, hey, he was way up there ahead of that line. That's one part of the game that has always bothered me. In a game where they measure with a chain that's so exacting, and yet the officials in making their spot are looking out there and they say, I think it's right here. I'll tell you this, they do a great job, but it's a very inexact science.
And it comes down to something this close, where the Oiler hopes already faint at best.
Oh,
Jerry Markbride.
Well, that was a matter of how that ball settled into the grass. If the tail had settled toward the other goal line, I don't think he'd have made it.
I think in many ways, in light of the spot that Jerry Markbride was rather pleased to motion first down. One minute gone in the 4th quarter. And all Denver, 27-3. Underneath. Ooh, Duncan takes a pop. Will they call that incomplete? Incomplete is the pass. He did not get both feet down.
We've said it many times. Mark Haynes, number 36, really is having an outstanding day. He was the man who was right there, and that ball stretched the receiver into a vulnerable position, but watch the hit by 36. There's no chance to catch that football.
Now we'll look at Haynes again. They got him from the Giants last year for 2 number 2s and a number 6. And there was a time where they wondered whether or not that was a good deal. And Haynes, with a retirement, surprise retirement of Louis Wright, took over that left corner spot. And he has gotten better and better. And he's been absolutely brilliant today in an injury-riddled secondary for the Broncos. 57-yard pass interception return. Incomplete. That is not a lateral. That was a forward pass in the backfield. Incomplete. Casey Clark wanted the recovery. Freddie Gilbert on the pressure.
One of the things that really, I think, helps this Denver Bronco team late in the season and going into the playoffs is that Dan Reeves is not the kind of coach who will give his team pep talks. He said, hey, if you need pep talks, you better go get another coach. And because of that, he allows them to prepare themselves for the games. I think those kinds of teams come into the playoffs with a lot more emotional energy than teams that play for highly emotional coaches.
The Oilers on this drive have consumed a lot of precious time over 6.5 minutes. Moon with a strike inside the 20. Drew Hill with 20 yards on the reception at the 17 of Denver. Clock running 13:30. Here's Hill, who came from the Rams for a couple of draft picks out of Georgia Tech, where he was a 12th round selection by Los Angeles back in 1979. And he's found a happy home in Houston.
I'd say the Rams would love to have him playing for them right now. He was kind of a reject and went on to show them just how good he was.
Second only to Jerry Rice the last 3 years in yardage. The short snap to Pinkett again.
First time that direct snap has worked. They've used that play effectively during the season. Moon, of course, making it look like a pass play out of the shotgun. The direct snap, and sometimes they'll just let that ball carrier slump over the football, let everybody run by, and then take him right upfield.
Picked up 6 on the play. As we told you earlier, no one has been stingier in the NFL in the final 15 minutes than the Broncos. That's an average of only 3 points a game. And that includes 10 points that the Houston Oilers replacement team scored against Denver when they beat them handily here 40-10. Moon looks a bit like it might have been a quarterback draw.
It was definitely a quarterback draw and a planned play. But Denver not fooled by it. Able to Michael Brooks, number 56, the man who was there to make the... Here's the quarterback draw. They're hoping to get everyone inside. There was room inside, but Moon couldn't really feel that there was enough room to get him through there. Hesitated, and then Brooks very quickly back into position to make the stop.
18th play of this drive. It's 3rd and 4.
Denver almost as happy to see that number because the clock's eating away with this drive.
11.5 minutes remain. Moon over the hands of Duncan. Curtis Duncan in the end zone, and there's Mark Haynes again. He has played an impeccable corner today. He's reduced Warren to a half moon. 11:22 left.
Again, you feel the instincts of the Warren Moon. It's good, strong arm. He's shown us that today. But I'll tell you, it's tough to win with so many things stacked against you. And you can feel that the emotion has just drained out of this Houston team. 4th down. Last chance on this drive.
Well, for Moon's sake, you hope he has something special here. Incomplete. Jeremiah Castile, a former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, and the Broncos take over on downs.
Moon trying to gun this ball in, but 3 defenders arrived simultaneous with the football.
And now they're 11 minutes from serious thoughts of Cleveland. Just don't leave home without it. Elway's still in there at quarterback for the Broncos, and one has to wonder if this is his last series, Merlin Olsen, with 11 minutes left, and obviously the game is well in the hands of the Broncos.
Certainly would seem that way, and you obviously do not want to risk Elway. But the one thing that's kind of hard with John loves to play. He doesn't want to come out of there.
That's right. I talked to him yesterday. He says, I can't wait to go dancing. I mean, I've been preparing for 2 weeks. It seemed like an eternity. I can't wait for the game today.
One of the nice things that Elway has done is to give some of the praise back to his coach this year. And he said publicly that he thought that this was Reeves' best coaching job ever, with an injured defense, with all the changes on offense. I just like that. I like the relationship between those two.
Deflected nicely by Keith Bostic. He thought he might have a touchdown. That play was wide open for Gene Lang. If it gets by Bostic, big yardage. Oilers have had the ball. And, of course, that last drive consumed something like 18 plays, 19 plays, in 9 minutes, 0 points. Good news for Denver. Rulon Jones can play. You look at an unhappy Warren Moon. And Vance Johnson is okay. And Clarence Kay is in the game. He's lined up there at tight end on the right side. And out on the shotgun. Bostic on the blitz. The pass to Sewell, complete at the 40. How in the world did Elway throw that ball? He seemed to be running and hit laterally and flipped that one down the sideline, 40 yards for a completion.
Donaldson taking the shot on the sideline on Sewell. Elway, a magician, getting away from the rush and able to deliver that ball on target. Boy, I'll tell you see that head snap? And there's a broken jaw inside of that special headgear. That's why you see so many bodies over there quickly. I'll tell you, that Steve Sewell is one tough kid.
Sewell is walking it off. He appears to be okay on the near sidelines, not in the game. Caught 3 for 41 yards today. A valuable weapon going into the championship game, which will apparently be a rematch of last year's thrilling overtime win at Cleveland, when Denver, rallying on that 1st and 98 to go, led by Elway, who did everything right to tie the game, and then a Carlos field goal won it in overtime. Short yardage appeared to be Tony Bodie going through.
Dick, the interesting thing
Winder, excuse me.
The interesting thing I think about that 98-yard drive is that the Cleveland defense did everything they could do correctly to stop Elway and still couldn't get him stopped. In fact, Jerry Clanville said that yesterday. He said that if he had been calling defenses, he couldn't think of anything else that Cleveland could have done. Marty Schottenheimer were doing everything he could, but we're looking forward to that. That's a great rematch of a fantastic game we enjoyed so much last year.
Yeah, the consensus is those are the 2 best teams on the AFC side. It'll be here on NBC from Mile High Stadium. Intercepted. The first turnover as Patrick Allen of the Oilers comes up with the ball as he out-wrestles Ricky Nattiel. So the Oilers will get it at the Denver 47 as Allen picks it off.
Elway finally making a mistake here. Late going and throwing one that gets him in trouble. He avoided a couple of early interceptions, and I think partly because he threw the ball so hard. That ball badly thrown and taken away from the receiver.
9.5 minutes remaining in this 4th quarter. Something I've been wanting to do all year. Merlin Olsen has been leading a dual life. He's been working on a new TV series, Aaron's Way, and every day before the game he puts this thing on. That's how you're going to see him starting in March, right?
And unveiling March 14th.
Boy, do you look different.
It's a little bit of a different look, an Amish look, you might say.
Can I wear it? We'll show you, if we have a chance, some clips from that new series. Moon hitting Drew Hill at the 31-yard line. As the Oilers, if nothing else, want to try to strike for some scoring here in the final quarter, trailing 27-3. 5 catches for Drew Hill and 93 yards in the game. 9:14 left. Alonzo Highsmith in the backfield with Moon. Wide open Curtis Duncan. He's inside the 20-yard line, and another first down for the Oilers. Haynes and Dennison with the tackle.
It's getting cold. That sun has dropped down over the horizon, and lights are on here. And I'll tell you, it is terribly cold over on that Houston sideline.
Looking off toward the great snow country, the ski country, as Warren Moon finding Givens open. Ernest Givens has a touchdown. A flag is down. And we'll see if that one counts. Offside Denver, it will. Preliminary signal against the Broncos.
Warren Moon finally able to look up and see some points.
Decline, touchdown.
It has been a frustrating afternoon for these Oilers. They've been in scoring position a number of times and finally get 7 on the board.
So Patrick Allen's interception of an Elway pass at midfield, and quickly Moon gets his team in the end zone. Ernest Givens, that combination of Givens and Hill as the years go on going to be more and more recognized. They are really talented. Zendejas has the extra point. Now Moon first eluding the pressure from Rulon Jones, and then throwing against his body finds a wide opener, Ernest Givens. And that gets the Oilers their first touchdown of the game with 8:22 left. Denver leads 27-10, and Zendejas has it teed up, and both teams lined up for the onside kick, with Zendejas having almost entire team off to the left. And it takes a good high bounce, and that's going to be close. It appeared that an Oiler had his hands on it when they went up. No, the signal is to Denver. Steve Watson was there, but he doesn't have it. 81, 24 is Tony Bodie. He doesn't come up with it. Who does?
It may be that no one came up with that football, in which case it would go over to Denver at that point. If we look at it, it did appear, Dick, that an Oiler had the best chance. A perfect onside kick. The Oilers are up. That looks like a basketball jump ball, and I think that what happened is that nobody had possession, and that ball goes out of bounds.
That's exactly right, Merlin. Watson was the man who was able to bat it away.
Oh, there it is. It's loose.
No, it didn't go out of bounds.
No, it didn't. Watson able to knock it out of the hands of one of the, and it looks like Casey Clark, perhaps, who gets up there. Number 27 is the man who actually dove in there and scooped that ball up.
But the Oilers did have it for a moment, and Watson did a terrific job of playing defense, the veteran.
He's done that many times as a pass receiver, knew exactly how to knock it away.
Well, the Oilers that close to coming up with a football on an excellent onside kick by Zendejas. You couldn't ask the ball to do a better trick for you.
Got it to hop high and give those people time to get down underneath it.
Meanwhile, John Elway stays in the game, 27-10, and now with that touchdown, it's a different story. A couple of successful onside kicks, and the game is still within reach.
Well, certainly not history, but the one thing you worry about late in a game like this, especially as it gets cold, is an injury.
Yeah, while Elway comes to talk with Dan Reeves, let's go back for those of you who may not have been with us from the start. Here's the biggest play of the game. First possession for the Oilers. Second play, they try a long pass, a lateral pass to Rozier. He can't handle it. It's a live ball, and the Broncos recover at the 1-yard line and score. And then Moon, trailing 7-0, has the ball deep in Denver territory, doesn't see Carl Mecklenburg. And number 77 of the Broncos picks it off, and that started a long scoring drive to make it 14-0. Another deep penetration by Moon and the Oilers. He tries to hit Drew Hill. Mark Haynes, who has played brilliantly, picks it off, returned it 57 yards. That's how the Broncos have stayed in front. Sammy Winder protecting the football, gains a couple. John Grimsley with a tackle. The Broncos then with a lead of 24-3 at the half came out in the third quarter throwing the football. They have not played conservatively, and in fact intercepted on the last possession, and that led to the Houston touchdown.
Dan Reeves really continuing to do what this Bronco team does best, which is to throw the football, mixing in the run as an alternative.
Mateel and Mark Jackson are the wide receivers. Take the winder. Elway hits Lang. Gene Lang to the 25-yard line, carrying Robert Lyles with him. And again, that looked easy enough, but running at full speed, hitting a man at an angle, and hitting him perfectly on the run was Elway.
Well, Elway continues to amaze us with his abilities. Of course, the thing that is almost unfair that Elway gives to his Bronco team is the ability to almost get 2 plays out of 1. The first play, the one that's called, and then a second play. Of course, not in this case, but a second play when he begins to scramble. Because it's just like having 2 plays to another team's single play.
25-yard gain on the last one. The handoff to Winder. Sammy Winder, 1 tackle away from breaking that one for a touchdown. Has about 9. Jeff Donaldson saved the score.
One of the popular myths, and certainly there are a lot of people who buy it wholeheartedly, is that you cannot win the Super Bowl unless you have a running game. And, of course, one of the questions that has to be asked about this Denver team is, do they have the kind of running game to carry them to that kind of championship?
Well, do they have the kind of running game to beat Cleveland next year?
Sure. Well, they're certainly not into the Super Bowl, although we could look at what happened last year in the Super Bowl as an example of what happens when you can't run and you play a physical team that can run and also can put pressure on your quarterback.
On 2nd and 2, Winder diving to the 15-yard line and a first down Denver.
The point I wanted to make, Dick, is that this Denver team has been able to run the ball more effectively this year than last year, in particular inside the 20-yard line. And one of the things that gives them the feeling of a stronger run, of course, is Elway's ability back there. Even though he doesn't run the ball, you know that on any play he can run the football. And sometimes you don't have to do something to keep the defense honest. You just have to let them know that you can do it.
And Elway indeed finished as the number 2 rusher for the Broncos this year with 304 yards running the ball and 4 touchdowns. On the ground on first down. Battling, has 5 yards. Al Smith made the tackle, and with it the clock running, 5:45 left to score 27-10 Denver.
John has gotten a lot of awards this year, Elway. Well deserved. One award he didn't get that I'd like to give to him, the Insomnia Award.
For what? What, he put you to sleep?
No, he's kept more people awake around the league this year than any other player in the NFL. I got to tell you, he has kept them eyes wide open in the middle of the night.
That indeed. That's good. I like it. Insomnia. Draw to Winder to the 3, first and goal. And of course, the Oilers gambling on their defensive charge, trying to tackle the ball. That's their top hope. And when you don't succeed, that gives that running back all the more yardage.
Well, I said at halftime, this Oiler team is not good at playing catch-up football, and they're showing us that here in the second half.
Now, Sammy Winder, one of those players that just gives you a good outing, never spectacular. He's a tackle-to-tackle runner. He's led the Broncos 5 straight years. He scored 47 touchdowns. He's second all-time to Floyd Little. In fact, he's only 7 behind the great Little. Run it in. Touchdown, Elway. That big lumbering stride is so deceptive. He runs about 4.7. You don't see many people catching him.
John having to be careful as he got all the way out toward the fence.
Three yards on the roll right, and that all but seals it for the Broncos. Never really much doubt. Charles Martin, number 94. I don't know what happened down there in that crowd, but Martin's the last one to come out.
He may have lost his footing over there. There's an area there where it is still very icy and slick, and Martin appears to have slipped and fallen. He's got a black liquid all over the side of him from where he may have gone down in that ice. And you look at the back side of him, which we may see in a moment, and I think that's what happened. I think he slipped on the ice over there.
I would think now Gary Kubiak, who is the holder on the extra point, will be the man we'll see at quarterback on the next possession for Denver. Carlos with the extra point. And here in the Mile High City, the Broncos get ready to host the championship game. For you, it's going to be a great series. An Amish family who goes west into wine country and has to adapt itself to the modern style of life. There's a lot of wonderful humor and poignancy, typically warm kind of program that we've come to learn to see with Merlin Olsen as a star. That'll be in March. This game is the property of the National Football League, the Denver Broncos, and the Houston Oilers, all rights reserved. This telecast presented by authority of the National Football League, intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Denver Broncos and the National Football League is prohibited. It's interesting that Denver and Cleveland, and that was going to be the rematch after last year's championship, was the game that wasn't played this year. That was the third game that the strike wiped out. Now they're going to get their chance to meet again next Sunday here in Denver. And I know the Browns are eager for the opportunity. Givens ripped down by Tyrone Braxton after a 12-yard gain. And Houston is going to hurry to the line of scrimmage.
Interesting, too, Dick, that with San Francisco and Chicago out of the picture, the AFC looking much better. And certainly the teams representing the NFC not the favorites as designed and picked by the odds makers earlier in the year or even in the last few weeks.
Underneath the Highsmith to the 43 and another first down, 11 or 12 yards. Dennison and Wilson with a tackle. The next week it'll be Washington hosting the surprising Minnesota Vikings, and then really no surprise on the AFC side. The two teams expected to reach the championship round are there. The Browns and the Broncos. 3:30 for NFL Live, Eastern Time, 12:30 in the West. Got to write that.
You got that one. What time is that in L.A., though?
No, 1:30 in Denver. I even got that right.
Here we go. Warren Moon.
Underneath, Willie Drury caught a touchdown pass, a big play against Seattle last week in the Astrodome. 3:03, 3:02, clock ticking away. The Oilers surprised a lot of people this year. And with the youth of this team, the future is all ahead for Houston, if it is indeed the Oilers in Houston. Moon under pressure, throwing long and incomplete to Drury. The other question that comes out of this, Merlin, is the health of the Broncos, losing a Mike Harden in an already thin defensive backfield.
The one thing that they have going for them is we noticed that team has won consecutive.
Well, that's what the Steelers, and of course, right. Denver would do that should they win.
Denver looking to do that. The one positive note is that Dennis Smith, who broke his forearm earlier in the year, is on the sideline today. He'll start practicing here tomorrow. Now, Dan Reeves was reluctant to put him back into that lineup. There he is on the sideline. But with the injury to Harden, they may not have a choice here in Denver.
The irony is they have the same injury, a broken forearm. And then Randy Robbins has been working out. He, too, injured, and he might be available next week. Andre Townsend wrapping up. Allen takes it and a flag down against Houston.
Passing out the bouquets here today is not difficult. They go to Denver coaches and staff who have helped to negate the strengths of both Houston's offense and their defense.
Holding number 63, offense, third down.
Well, looking ahead to the Cleveland game next Sunday, the Broncos leading in the series. That doesn't always tell you a lot. But they have won 8 straight, which means that in recent years, it has been the Denver way. Sometimes that's a negative stat for you. You don't beat good teams year after year after year.
I'll tell you this, Cleveland waited the whole year to get a shot at these Broncos.
Moon trying to hit Curtis Duncan, but there was Haynes again.
That ball simply thrown away. Warren knew he did not have time. And I think that would be a situation where you would see an Elway pull that ball down and take off and scramble. Warren not yet comfortable enough Not yet confident enough of his own abilities, perhaps, to try and scramble to make the next play. Yeah.
Pat Allen, who had the interception, the only turnover.
It has been a sad day here for these Oilers.
4th and 11. From their 41, going for it. But they don't get it. Duncan rattled by Tony Lilly. It's Denver's ball. 4-yard gain.
We talked about the physical nature of the Houston Ball Club, and Denver throughout this game has been intent on delivering a message to Houston. We too can play physical football.
So the interesting fact, comparing this year with last year, the Final Four teams last year, 3 of the same teams make it to the Final Four this year. The only one that doesn't, of course, the Super Bowl champions, the Giants. But the Redskins, the Broncos, the Browns, who were in the championship games last year, will again have that date next Sunday. Ted Kubiak is the quarterback, played at Texas A&M. He's from Houston, was a great high school player, all-state in 3 sports, football, basketball, and baseball in Houston. Used so sparingly this year with a dominant play of Elway, 3 for 7 for Kubiak. Another flag.
Important.
Sportsman foul, number 99, defense. First down.
Now, with the game obviously settled, one can only hope that in these final 2 minutes we don't see open anger and fouls that don't really accomplish anything except the embarrassment of not being able to swallow it and walk away. He's a highly positive guy, Glanville. It just didn't break right for him from the very start. Ken Bell carries inside the 40, played at Boston College. John Grimsley with a tackle. That's the 2-minute warning. For all the joy in Denver, the opposite emotion displayed in Houston. Those seem to be in the face of Moon's receivers constantly a big pass interception. Budweiser will make a contribution to the United Way on behalf of today's MVP, Mark Haynes. And not only the Haynes play, but the fact without Mike Harden back there, I mean, all of the defensive players in the backfield for the Broncos had to be that much better.
A lot of pressure on him. Doing a lot of man-to-man coverage back there today. Patrick Boland, obviously a very happy man, the man in the dark suit and the Bronco-colored orange tie. His team going back to the AFC Championship again this year. We gave you a look earlier at Bud Adams, whose team has come out of the depths this year. And I'm sure that Bud Adams is looking forward to having a number of successful teams in the future with the kind of showing that this Houston team has made in 1987.
Ken Bell has a first down at the 33. Don't forget the Broncos were 4-3-1 at one stage. That big win on Monday night against the Bears. There's a report card. 264 yards for Moon. A couple of pass interceptions, however, and literally no running game. Rozier hurt in the second half. Gibbons, a big game, 6 catches and a touchdown. Those turnovers, though, the coaches are right. They're prophetic. They know, and they came at such critical times for Houston. Only 3.
They set the tone. They really set the tone for this game.
They were killers.
Yep.
Kubiak is going to ride out the clock now. So let's look at the report card for the men of orange. Elway. A lot of mileage out of those 14 completions and 2 touchdowns. Winder, 46 yards. Clarence Kay, a couple of touchdowns for the tight end. You know, the statistics, if ever they lie...
They don't tell the story, do they, Dick?
They really don't.
I'll tell you, the thing that I think will please Denver is the fact that they are playing their best football at the end of this season. That wasn't true last year. Their defense was not playing well as they went into the playoffs last year, even though they were able to continue to survive. But this year, Elway is playing well, the offense is playing well, and aside from the injuries, their defense is playing extremely good football.
I don't know if he's a Denver fan, but Jerry Ireland, a long-time star with NBC on the technical end. He's an Elway fan. He's watching today in Los Angeles. We all hope you're feeling better, Jerry, and Well, that's one thing you knew when he was working with us. Every time it would be a quality show, and so it has been.